Thank you. I asked for that because I want all the people who tune in to watch this online to hear about the auction. And I want to tell you, we have 81 entries in our auction. So you guys are so incredible. Thank you. And the total value of everything, if we got the value, would be $15,000. So how about that for a fundraiser, huh? Yeah. So, just our smallish community can't actually afford all that. So please tell your friends, any groups you're in, ask them to check it out and see if there's anything they want to bid on. And Jeff, if you could put up the slide, um, the next slide, please. All right. So I've put a schedule of events over there by my laptop, and I'll try to get over there at the end and open it up so you can take a look at the website. But this is the first page of different events and the date and time of what day of the week. So if you're trying to figure out what you can plan to do, it might help you schedule things. And then we're going to take a look at the website. To get to the website, you'll want to go to your e-news and just go to the place that gives you the link. Click on that link. It'll take you to the website for the auction, and it will want you to register before you bid. So click on auction. This is a new one, the new website from the one we used last time, and it's really user-friendly. It's really fun. And Jeff went into Cinco de Mayo party donated by Meg and Wayne. And so what you see there is you see that we've got 14 days to bid on it. There's 8 spots at this party, and the starting bid must be $20. And so keep going up a little bit. Okay, so then down under where you would bid, it says the value is $30, and bid increment is $5. I want to explain that if you're in the 8 people that sign up, you don't have to go incrementally up. You can all go with the minimum if you want. Or you can be generous and put $500, whatever you want. But if they're full, all 8 spots, then you'll need to go $5 above the lowest bid. And that'll knock that person out. And they'll get an email saying, hey, someone's outbid you. I believe that's how it'll work. We'll see. But come back and check, and you can put in a bid that's higher than the lowest amount there, and you will be able to get back into the Cinco de Mayo party. So that's how bid increments go. Does anybody have a question about that? No? Okay. Let's see. Afterwards, I'll be over there to help anybody take a look at my computer and see it. I just hope if anybody has any problems, you can contact Dave Keller, contact me, contact Megan, and we'll be glad to help you figure out things. All right, thanks.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Chico. I'm the Reverend Brian Plude, the minister of this church. Welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning in person or online. If you are new to us and would like to get connected, you can get help with that by asking any one of the people who stood up here and made announcements this morning, or you can do it online at myuuchico.org, and that is a different web address URL than we've had for years and years and years, but that's what it is now. This morning, we will be addressing both the fact that it's the celebration of Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday, and two aspects of winter. It is our custom to acknowledge and be mindful that the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Chico stands on lands that were formerly stewarded by the Mechoopda people. We recognize their distinctive spiritual relationship with this land, the flora, the fauna, and the waters that run near campus. We are grateful. Our call to worship this morning is by the Reverend Sherry Woodbury. Welcome, who come in friendship and long for genuine community. May you be graciously received here as your authentic self. Welcome, who come in curiosity, full of questions or simply open. May you embrace wonder and encounter new delights. Welcome, who come heavy with fatigue, weary from the troubles of the world or the troubles of your life. May you rest and be filled in this sacred space. Welcome, who come with joy for flowing rivers and gentle breeze, for changing skies and great trees, for rain. May the grace of the world leave an everlasting imprint on you. Welcome, who come with thanks for the altruism of the earth and the gift of human care. May your grateful heart overflow and bless those around you. Come, let us celebrate together this wondrous life. Amen.
Thinking of Dr. King and so many others, including a lot of you who I see out there who are continuing on wonderful work here in our own community. We light this chalice in honor of the courage of those who struggle for freedom, the persistence of those who struggle for justice, and the love of those who are committed to building beloved communities to carry on the light of hope.
Okay, our first song today, we want you to sing with us. It's called Seed, and I can't remember who it's by. Let's see.
Emma's Revolution.
Emma's Revolution, of course. All right, so it's very repetitious, and the verses, once you get one verse, there's only a one-word difference in the second verse and then the third, so you'll get it. We're going to sing through the first verse twice, and then we'll go through the chorus, and by that time you'll have the song down. You'll be able to sing with us, so join in, okay? Oh, thank you. Please rise, if you can. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it love, give it love. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it water and time for a day or a year. Take the seed that you have and plant it here. Give it love, 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 give it love. Dream. Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it courage and time for a day or a year. Take the dream that you have and dream it here. Give it love, 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 give it love. Give it love, give
Our story for all ages this morning is from the Native American tradition of oral folklore. For Native Americans, the animals are different, are people too, just different. Traditional stories often personify animals with characteristics or personalities appropriate to how the Native people understood them. Our story this morning, How Coyote Stole Fire, the coyote is understood to be cunning and clever. A long time ago, humans came into being and they loved the world. They loved the springtime with the beautiful emerging plant life. They loved the summer, a time of berries and growth. As autumn came and the nights became colder, the humans shivered. Children and elders sometimes died in the winter from the cold. It was a hard time. One day, Coyote wandered into the human village. She could hear the wailing of the humans as they mourned their loved ones who had died. Spring was finally coming, and Coyote heard an old one say, "Feel the warmth of the sun." If only we could have such warmth in the winter to heat our teepees. Coyote was not of the human people and had no need for fire, but she felt sorry for the men and women who were sad about the others who had died. Coyote knew that on top of the mountain, a far mountain, 3 fire beings lived. These fire beings hoarded the fire and would not share with others. Coyote crept to the mountain to see how the fire beings kept and guarded their fire. Coyote watched the fire beings for many days. She watched as the fire was fed with dry things from the land like pine cones and twigs and branches. She watched how the fire beings took turns guarding the fire one at a time while the others slept. Coyote went back down the mountain to speak to her friends among the people. She told them of the shivering, hairless humans and their need for fire. She told them of the selfish fire beings and their unwillingness to share. She asked her friends among the people to help her. Squirrel, chipmunk, frog, and wood all volunteered to help Coyote bring fire to the humans. Coyote crept back up the mountain. As the fire beings were changing guard, Coyote leapt up to the fire and took a burning coal. Immediately she turned and ran down the mountain. The fire beings flew after her, clawing to get their fire back. One being touched the tip of Coyote's tail, which turned white and is white to this day. Coyote threw the fire and Squirrel caught it. The coal touched Squirrel's back and made his tail curl, which has always been curled since. Then Squirrel threw the ember to Chipmunk, who froze in fear. Finally, she turned and ran. A fire being clawed her back, giving her white stripes forever. Chipmunk threw the burning coal to Frog, who turned and hopped. One of the fire beings grabbed Frog's tail, but Frog jumped and tore free, and thus Frog has no tail. The fire beings came at Frog again, and Frog flung the coal at Wood. Wood took the coal and hid it inside themselves. The fire beings could not figure out how to get the coal from Wood. They yelled at Wood. They sang to Wood. They even promised presents to Wood. But Wood would not give up the coal. Finally, the fire beings returned to the mountain and left the people alone, assuming that if they could not get out the coal from Wood, neither could the people. Coyote took Wood to the human village and showed them how to get fire from Wood. Using a wood bow, Coyote spun a sharpened stick in a hole in another piece of wood. Pretty soon an ember appeared, released from wood. Fire came to humans, and they were never cold again.
sharing the significant joys and sorrows of our lives helps us build community, persevere through thick and thin, and heal. So if you'd like, please come forward. Release a stone in the water with a brief expression of your special joy or concern or sorrow. Remembering, just as a reminder, that we don't speak for another unless we have their permission. And if someone would like to, I would be happy to bring the mic to them.
Thank you. I'm on, yes. I'm Velda, and I have a joy today. Last Tuesday, I believe it was, I have a new grandchild, which makes me a great-grandmother, of which there are not a whole lot of us. So, so it's a great joy to our family. We have a new baby girl. Baby and mama are doing well. Can't wait to see them.
Zelda, on behalf of you and your new great-granddaughter, I'm going to put a couple of stones here in the water.
I'm Courtney Singer, and my baby sister turned 30 yesterday, which is a great joy because she can no longer joke about my 30s anymore.
Hi, I'm Marvy, and I am going to be a grandmother for the first time in April. And I was up in Portland where my daughter and her husband were visiting his relatives, and we celebrated my daughter's 40th birthday, and we bought baby clothes.
So I have a joy and a sorrow. My joy is the celebration of a wonderful person that cared deeply about her family and her community service. She was my sister-in-law, Ruth Liebes Savel, and she died on Monday.
I have the great joy of seeing my daughter, picking her up at the airport in San Francisco on Friday. She's visiting from Austria for 2 weeks. And I'll get to meet her boyfriend for the first time.
Well, all of those joys, I'm sorry to have to end with a sorrow, and I wanted to thank Ken Mitchell for staying in touch with our former member, Leslie Wright, who moved to Salem, Oregon a couple of years ago. And he notified me last night that she had died last month on December 12th. And my big concern is for her children. They're still all teenagers. I think 17, and the twins are probably 15. And that's Lauren and Maddie and Stuart Hamilton. It's very sad. Leslie raised those children in spite of having being debilitated with MS, and I always admired her ability to do that.
Sure.
My name is Fred, and in September this year, I'll be a great grandfather. Because my great granddaughter is pregnant. Her father's my grandson. She's my great granddaughter. So I'm 3 times. I don't know if I get an award for that or not. I don't think so.
That's going to be a lot of stones in that bowl, Fred.
I'm Margaret. 2 joys. My sister had successful hip replacement this week, so I'm happy about that. She's in Wisconsin, and I'm sorry I can't be with her. And the joy of singing with others, all of you, and especially these three.
I've enjoyed that my stepdaughter Kate just had her hip replaced in the last 10 days, and she's already walking around without any assistance except for one of Jack's old waiting staffs. So it's it's a wonderful thing, and I'm really happy for her. She's been in pain a long time. And if no one else has anything to share out loud, here are stones and our thoughts for all of those joys, sorrows, and concerns that are unspoken, but in your hearts.
I invite you to relax into this space, get comfortable as we enter into a time of meditation and prayer. Please breathe with me 3 times in and out. In and out. Last time in and out. We hold in our hearts the joys and sorrows we have heard this morning of grandparenting and great-grandparenting and great-great-grandparenting, of a former member who has died and who has left 3 children. Of successful surgeries. I invite you now to speak into this space or on chat the names of persons not yet mentioned whom you hold with tenderness. And we know that not all that is on our hearts was spoken aloud. These silent reflections we also hold with tenderness. We hold with tenderness the people of Ukraine and those in conflict and war throughout the world. We hold refugees with special tenderness. Their paths are uncertain, their futures unknown. We hold with tenderness the people and the children of Somalia, people who are on the brink of climate-induced famine, a famine made worse by war. May the world pay attention and bring relief. May we work for peace and to change the prevailing climate paradigm. We hold our unhoused neighbors in our hearts during this dangerous time of cold, wet weather. May they be comforted with warmth and food and a dry place to sleep through the work of volunteers in this church and in our city. May the volunteers be sustained. May leaders in our city whose hearts are hard be turned toward compassion. On this MLK weekend, I offer a prayer by a Black minister, a UU colleague. It's by the Reverend Alicia Ford. when we pause to remember. When we pause to remember who we are, companions on this grand experiment called life. When we take a moment to shed the ways we have been carefully taught, to lead from fear, to punish the poor, to persecute those who don't look like we do, to deny rights to those who love, to believe that we are separate, that some people are superior to others. When we take a moment to shed all of that and hear our stories, hear and see each other into existence, into community, when we take a moment to embrace, to practice a different way of being, when we answer the call of love, then we are living into the promise of building the world we dream about. It is beautiful to dream, to cast a vision, to stretch our minds into the future and imagine what we may be if we were to build a new way of being. Not someday, but beginning again today, beginning every day that we have breath, taking courage with these hands and hearts to make real the dream of a more equitable world, to journey together, seeking to be transformed even as we transform. Becoming explorers and learners in this world around us, humbled by what we do not yet know, fulfilling the promise of healing a fragmented world, laboring not just in hope, but also in love. In this spirit we commit, in this spirit we gather, in this spirit we pray. Amen, and blessed be.
We invite you to stay seated as we continue meditation in music, and just listen to this gift sending you light, or join in with us on the chorus. You'll see the words there. Melanie DeMore.
We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love. We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love.
No matter where you go, no matter where you've been, you'll never walk alone. I feel you deep within.
We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love. No matter what you feel or what you choose to show, we're always there for you, so we want you to know. We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love.
We'll go just like you go. There is no need to worry. We'll go just like you need to know. So, dear one, don't hurry. We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love. We are sending you light to heal you, to hold you. We are sending you light to hold you in love.
In a few moments, Reverend Brian's going to be talking about our theme for today, which is in this month, I guess, wintering. And I have a real affection, actually, for wintering. In some of my professional work, I write about the biology of plants. And in parts of the world, like where we live, where there's a winter season, many plants spend the shorter and typically cooler days of winter resting physiologically. This dormant period is a survival strategy that evolved over, of course, many millions of years to help ensure that a plant puts its energy and other resources into growing and developing seeds or other reproductive necessities, the plant version of renewal, only when external conditions favor success. There's so much wisdom in the natural world. That's something that I've always just felt very deeply. And so I am sure many other folks view wintering as a season when we too can benefit from using the slower days of winter to reflect and renew ourselves mentally and spiritually. I do some of that spiritual R&R, of course, but in my 40-year evolution as a writer, I've come to relish winter as hands down the ideal time to embark on writing projects. I'm a morning person, 4 or 5 a.m., Beb's there. And from about late November to late February, when we have our shortest days and longest nights, my writerly self is in an incredibly happy place. Mainly that's because I think there's so many fewer distractions out my study window than when the sun is has the nerve to be up by 6 a.m. and the morning sky is bluing so beautifully by 7-ish, and the bursting buds of flowering plants are well and truly disturbing my concentration, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Spring and summer and early fall all have their beauties, but for my writer's heart and mind, give me the dim, cool, and preferably frosty or rainy, or even better, best of all, misty winter mornings when it just feels natural to enclose myself in a mental cocoon and pick up where the day before, at the close of my working, I left off, searching for exactly the right words for whatever it is I want to say.
Our reading this morning is by May Sarton from her journal, A Journal of Solitude. Winter, January 18th. A little warmer this morning, 0 instead of 20 below. A strange, empty day. I did not feel well, lay around, looked at daffodils against the white walls, and twice thought I must be having hallucinations because of how their extraordinary scent that goes from room to room. I always forget how important the empty days are, how important it may be sometimes not to expect to produce anything, even a few lines in a journal. I am still pursued by a neurosis about work inherited from my father. A day where one has not pushed oneself to the limit seems a damaging day, a sinful day. Not so. The most valuable thing we can do for the psyche, occasionally, is to let it rest. Wander, live in the changing light of a room, not try to be or do anything, whatever. The two sides of winter. This is a sermon, a message of two parts. In the first, I speak of the difficulties of winter for our homeless neighbors and what needs to be done. In the second, I explore opportunities for renewal in winter, if we but slow down. Work to do, slow down. There is a need for both. Lest you get whiplash, I am warning you in advance. Take from this message what you need on this day at this time in your life. On December 21st, the longest night of the year, with several members of our fellowship, I attended a memorial service for people who died homeless here in Chico. It was held outside the South Chico Community Assistance Center in observance of National Homeless Persons Memorial Day. The bullhorn was passed, and we read the names of persons who have died on the streets here in Chico since 2020. In some cases, not even the name was known, just the circumstances. Woman found dead in her tent, February 2022. Man died by suicide, Lindo Channel, August 9th, 2021. Some of the deceased were known to those present who shared memories of them. After the memories, there were calls to action by various organizers. As the lone clergy person present, I was given permission to offer a prayer at the conclusion. I spoke of how it has been said that we die 3 deaths. First is the physical act of dying. The second is when we are returned to the earth. The third is when our name is spoken aloud for the last time. Saying the names of the deceased is an important act of compassion. I concluded with these words reprinted in the Chico Enterprise record on December 23rd. Tonight, we have said the names of fellow human beings whom society has not treated well, whom all of us have let down to a greater or lesser degree. Let us remember them in compassion. Let us do our best to keep others from meeting their fate on the street. Amen. December here was largely dry but bitterly cold. January thus far has been much warmer but wet and windy. It doesn't have to be very cold when one is wet to lead to hypothermia, the dangerous lowering of the core body temperature. What will it take for winter to be a season to look at rather than live through for our unhoused neighbors? A collective will, a sense of compassion, a compassion that seems to be substantially missing in this city and in much of California and the United States. There are exceptions, of course. Some cities are doing good work to eliminate homelessness. Here in Chico, we are getting some folks transition to housing, and we are sheltering others, but not all. Members of our fellowship spend hours every week volunteering in various organizations, assisting our unhoused neighbors. Folks here, as you heard earlier, are volunteering to put together 2 dinners and breakfasts for Safe Space Winter Shelter in February. Frederick Buechner writes, "Compassion is the sometimes fatal capacity for feeling what it is like to live inside somebody else's skin. It's the knowledge that can never really be any peace and joy for me until there is peace and joy finally for you." For most of human existence, no matter where one lived, there has been a season of hardship, a season to be survived. For Northern Europeans and their transplants in North America, this has been winter. In New Orleans, historically the month of greatest hardship, according to the cemetery docent I listened to several years ago, the month was August. More deaths occurred in August, she said, because of the high heat and humidity in the days before air conditioning. We have some of that here too in those 100+ degree days when people can't tolerate the heat and have no place to go. The advent of modernity has allayed seasonal hardship for many, but not all. Adam Gopnik writes, "The romance of winter is possible only when we have a warm, secure indoors to retreat to, and winter becomes a season to look at rather than one to live through." Indigenous writer, biologist, and professor Robin Wall Kimmerer writes of winter in her 2013 book, Braiding Sweetgrass, of how in upstate New York, winter was feared. Depending on the severity, it could be a time of starvation for the people. Kirk Lodeman Copeland, editor of the Touchstones Journal, recounts how England experienced its first energy crisis between 1550 and 1640. To put this period in context, this was immediately following the reign of Henry VIII. It was the heart of the mini ice age that gripped the Northern Hemisphere for 500 years. The population of England was exploding, and there was a shortage of wood because of massive deforestation. The rich paid a lot of money to stay warm, and the poor froze. This extended energy crisis led to the switch to coal for energy, and all that has brought us, including a reimagining of winter and climate change. Thus far, I've spoken of winter as a time of survival, a time that has been romanticized by Hallmark cards, showing idyllic winter scenes and songs like Nat King Cole's Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. Yet winter is also a time of renewal. As Bev mentioned, winter in our section of California is a time of renewal for plants. In a good year, soil moisture is replenished to sustain growth through the long, dry months of our Mediterranean climate. Some plants are actively growing now: the grasses, the winter wheat. The lemons and oranges we so love are harvested, brought to succulent sweetness by the cold nights. Other plants are dormant, although dormancy breaks here long before winter ends in many parts of the country. I used to say that if I hadn't gotten my pruning done in January, it was too late. Things were starting to bud. It's much more complicated than that, of course. Pruning, I mean. But for my basic gardener capabilities, it was an understandable rule of thumb. For some of us like Bev, the absence of outdoor distractions leads to creativity indoors. Marilee Stover said the same thing in her early December reflection here. Winter is a time to dig into projects without the outdoor distractions of other seasons, she said. For Bev and Marilee, and many others, winter creates space for creativity. And isn't that what is happening with the plants too? Winter provides the ingredients for creating new life. Plants and animals don't fight the winter. They don't pretend it's not happening and attempt to carry on living the same lives as they lived in summer, writes Catherine May. They prepare, they adapt, they perform extraordinary acts of metamorphosis to get them through. For those of us for whom winter does not lead to creativity, that is okay. Winter offers respite if we pay attention. Weather keeps us indoors. It certainly has this January. If we give ourselves permission, we can relax with a book or a movie. We can visit with friends or family. It's about giving ourselves permission to do what the season is beckoning us to do. Restore ourselves from routine busyness. Catherine May is the author of Wintering, the Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. She writes, to get better at wintering, we need to address our very notion of time. We tend to imagine that our lives are linear, but in fact, they are cyclical. May speaks of the physical season of winter, but also of winter as a metaphor for the dark times in our lives. She makes the point that our Western culture does not make space for dark times, either the season of winter or the lows in our lives. We are expected to keep up our normal frenetic pace for both. She spoke about how, when she became seriously ill, she needed a doctor's permission to admit it and to begin to care for herself. Winter is a time for reflection and recuperation, for slow replenishment, for putting your house in order, May writes. Slowing down is a radical act. You've heard me say the same thing about grief. Undoubtedly one of life's winter seasons, one of its darker winter seasons. It's difficult. We don't want to acknowledge it. Even mental health professionals tend to want us to move on quickly. I'm going to conclude with an extended quote from May, who was asked to read this passage by Krista Tippett, host of the podcast On Being, where May was being interviewed. I'm beginning to think that unhappiness is one of the simple things in life, a pure basic emotion to be respected, if not savored. I'd never dream of suggesting that we should wallow in misery or shrink from doing everything we can to alleviate it. But I do think it's instructive. After all, unhappiness has a function. It tells us that something is going wrong. There will be moments when we're riding high and moments when we can't bear to get out of bed. Both are normal. Both, in fact, require a little perspective. She goes on, sometimes the best response to our howls of anguish is the honest one. We need friends who wince along with our pain, who tolerate our gloom, who allow us to be weak for a while finding our feet again. Friends who don't say, buck up, you'll get over it. We need people who acknowledge that we can't always hang on, that sometimes everything breaks. Short of that, short of having those friends, we need to perform those functions for ourselves, to give ourselves a break when we need it, and to be kind, to find our own grit in our own time. End quote. In this winter, may we help to alleviate the suffering of others and to acknowledge our own suffering and to give ourselves permission for rest and renewal. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Our offering is one of the ways that we take our ministry into the world, trying to let love speak through us. This quarter, the beneficiary of our plate offering is Safe Space Winter Shelter, which is an organization, nonprofit, providing an incredibly valuable service of seasonal low-barrier emergency shelter for people experiencing homelessness in our community. So please give generously to help support this life-saving work.
Our offering for you this morning is Lean In Toward the Light by Carrie Newcomer. If you feel moved to join in the refrain, Lean In Toward the Light, at some point, please, you are welcome to. Winter is the oldest season, but quietly beneath the snow, seeds are stretching out and reaching, faithful as the morning glow.
Carry nothing but what you must. Let it go, shake off the dust. Lean in toward the light. Today is now, tomorrow beckons. Lean in toward the light. Keep practicing resurrection. Lean in toward the light. The shadows of this world will say, there's no hope, why try anyway? But every kindness, large or slight, shifts the balance toward the light.
Winter's wind and open wide.
Lean in toward the light.
Don't just walk when you can fly.
Lean in toward the light.
When justice seems in short supply.
Lean in toward the light.
Let beauty be your truest guide.
Lean in toward the light. Shadows of this world will say, there's no hope, why try anyway? But every kindness, large or slight, shifts the balance toward the light. The prayer I pray at eventide, lean in toward the light. All left undone be put aside. Lean in toward the light. When forgiveness is hard to find, lean in toward the light. Help me at least to be kind. Lean in toward the light.
On this Martin Luther King birthday eve, it is appropriate that we remember and appreciate the work that was done by Dr. King and the thousands of others on the front lines during the civil rights movement and since. It is also appropriate that we recognize that the work is nowhere near complete, as was gruesomely demonstrated by the murder of George Floyd and untold others, by the ongoing ways in which Black persons and people of color are systematically kept from achieving parity with white persons, parity in pay, parity in medical care, parity in schooling, and more. Often referred to as the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing was a hymn written as a poem by NAACP leader James Weldon Johnson in 1900. His brother John Rosamond Johnson composed the music for the lyrics. A choir of 500 school children at the segregated Stanton School, where James Weldon Johnson was principal, first performed the song in public in Jacksonville, Florida, to celebrate President Abraham Lincoln's birthday. At the turn of the 20th century, Johnson's lyrics eloquently captured the solemn yet hopeful appeal for the liberty of Black Americans. Set against the religious invocation of God and the promise of freedom, the song was later adopted by the NAACP and prominently used as a rallying cry during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. Join us now in singing hymn number 149, Lift Every Voice. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Oh, sorry. Let's try that again.
G7, right?
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let every sound loud as the rolling sea, sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stormy the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn has died. Yet with a steady beat and let our weary feet come to the place for which our Father's side. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughter. Out from the gloomy past to the stand at last, where the white gleam of a bright star is cast. God of our weary joys, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath the hand, may we forever stand true to our God.
We conclude our service and extinguish our chalice with these words by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King from his Christmas Eve sermon, 1967. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. We are made to live together because of the interrelated structure of reality. So it is. So may it be. Go in peace.